This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, so in the last three sessions of this baddies, we have seen how to identify the standard baddies, how to implement the standard baddies. Okay, we have implemented a baddie called as customer underscore add underscore data. In that baddie, we implemented two methods. One is check all data, another is what preset values company code. Okay, so that is nothing but the standard baddie. So as I told you earlier, we have the provision to create the custom baddies also. So let's see how to create the custom baddies. Okay, right. So related to baddies, we know that we have two important transaction codes. One is SC18, another is what? SC19. SC80 is for baddie definition and SC19 is for what? Baddie implementation. Okay, so here, see this. So if you take this as standard baddies, these standard baddies are provided by what? SAP. Okay, standard baddies are provided by SAP. The definition is provided by SAP. The triggering of baddie is also taken care by what? SAP. Okay, triggering means nothing but firing or calling. So where these standard baddies are triggered, they are triggered at the appropriate place in the transaction. Okay, standard baddies are triggered at the appropriate place in the transaction, and implementation is done by whom? By developer. So this is what we have seen earlier in case of what standard baddies. Right, so this is about the standard. Is my voice is audible to everyone? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
fine, fine, right. So if you take the standard baddies, the definition is provided by SAP, and triggering of this baddie is taken care by what? SAP itself. As a developer, we are only responsible for what? Implementing the standard baddies. Okay, so if you take the earlier example that we have seen, that is what? Customer underscore add underscore data in the transaction XD01, right? In the transaction XD01, we have identified one standard baddie called as customer underscore add underscore data. So for that baddie, the definition is given by what? SAP itself. Means definition means what does that baddie definition contains? The baddie definition contains one interface, and that interface will contain what? One or more methods. One or more methods. We need to identify which method we need to implement. So in that baddie customer underscore add underscore data, we implemented two methods. One is check all data, another is what? Preset underscore values underscore company code. Preset underscore values underscore company code. So if you take custom baddies, this custom baddies, the definition, the implementation, and the triggering of the custom baddies is taken care by what? Developer itself. Okay, in case of standard baddies, the definition and triggering is taken care by SAP. We are only responsible for what? Implementation. Whereas in case of this custom baddies, or we call them as new baddies, or we call them as kernel baddies, right? We can call with the different terminologies: custom baddie, new baddie, or what? Kernel baddies. So the definition, implementation, and triggering of this particular baddies is taken care by what? Developer itself. So what we'll do now is we'll try to create one custom BADI. We'll implement that BADI and we'll see how to trigger that particular BADI. Right? So if you see the procedure, I told you from 6.0 version onwards, the BADI definitions are stored inside what? Enhancement spot, and the BADI implementations are stored inside what? Enhancement implementation. So if you see the procedure for this custom BADI creation, first we need to create the enhancement spot. Just like if you take, if you want to create one Z function module, custom function module, we require a function group. Na? Once a function group is created, we can store any number of function modules inside that particular function group. Similarly, whenever you want to create the custom BADI, first we have to create what? Enhancement spot. Then as part of that enhancement spot, we can create the custom BADI. While creating that custom BADI, we can create it as filter dependent or filter independent. We don't know any information about the filter at this stage, so I'll go for creating what? Filter independent BADI. Then we have to create the custom enhancement implementation, which is responsible for implementing the enhancement spot. As part of that custom enhancement implementation, we can create the custom BADI implementations. Then we need to write the logic for triggering the custom BADI as part of executable program, or we can plug it towards some standard customer exits or some standard BADIs in the standard transaction. So let's see how to create the custom BADIs. Any questions in the first two blocks? Standard BADIs and custom BADIs. In case of standard BADIs, the definition, the triggering of the BADI is taken care by SAP itself. We are only responsible for what? Implementation. To give you an example, we have implemented one BADI customer add data. So for that BADI, the definition is given by whom? By SAP itself. And that BADI is triggered by what? SAP itself. Where that BADI is triggered? In the transaction XD01. Some methods, various methods are getting called at various places. Means in the transaction XD01, when we click on the save button, we observe it has called a method called as check all data. When we click on the company code or data button, it has called a method called as preset underscore values underscore company code. So what is happening here? That BADI is getting triggered. It is getting called by what? SAP itself in the transaction XG01. We have only implemented it. In case of custom BADI, all the three activities we have to do: definition, implementation, and triggering should be taken care by developer itself. So let us see how to create the custom BADI. Yeah, any questions related to this slide? Okay, so first let us create the enhancement spot. Inside that enhancement spot, we can store any number of what? BADI definition. So let me log on to the system. Yeah, I need to re-log in. Right. So what are the steps here? First, you have to create the custom enhancement spot. What we know about enhancement spot so far? Enhancement spot is a container of what? BADI definitions. So I'll go to SC18. right? First, I'm trying to create the BADI definition. We cannot directly create the BADI definition. Before we create the BADI, first we need to create the enhancement spot. So I'll go to SC18. Yeah, you can see here we have two radio buttons here, enhancement spot and BADI name. I am working in which version? 6.0 version, ECC 6.0 version. Am I clear? So if you're working in the older versions, 4.6 version, 4.7 version, 4.6b, 4.7c, something like that. If you go to SC18 in the older versions, I'm talking. So why we should know about this is, if you're working in the support projects, we should know the change in the transactions. So if you go to SC18 in older versions, you will not have these radio buttons. Directly, we will have a field called as BADI name. We'll have only one field called as what, BADI name or BADI definition. But from 6.0, we have these two radio buttons, enhancement spot and BADI name. So what I'll do wantedly is, I'll directly try to create the BADI. But before that, I require enhancement spot. But wantedly, I'll try to create the BADI directly. So I'll choose the radio button BADI name. I'll try to provide the what, BADI name. So since it is a custom BADI, let me try to start with a Z. I'll give the name of the BADI as ZCST BADI. Any name you can give. Since it is a custom object, I'm starting with ZRY. Done. I'll click on the create button. When I click on the create button, I got a message on the status bar. Create operation is possible only for what? Enhancement spot. So first we need to create the enhancement spot. Then under that enhancement spot, I can create any number of BADI definition. So in SC18, the first step is creating the enhancement spot. So I'll go to SC18. I'll choose the radio button enhancement spot. Since it is our own enhancement spot, let me start with the Z. It is not compulsory. Suppose I'll give the enhancement spot name as ABC. Let's see whether it will allow or not. I'll give ABC. I'll click on create. It is allowing me to what? Create. But generally all the Z objects will start with what? Z or Y. So let us follow that naming convention. So I'll say ZCST enhancement spot. You can give any name. I gave it as something ZCST enhancement spot create. Yeah, enhancement spot. It is asking the short text. I'll give some short text. Custom enhancement spot. Then here it is asking the technology. They gave it as a drop down here. Might be in future they are going to add some more values. But here we have only one value. What is that value? BADI definition. So from the drop down, I'll choose what? BADI definition. By default, BADI definition is selected. Let it be BADI definition. Ignore this field composite enhancement spot. In future, this will be used, but as of now, it is of no use. So I just give the enhancement spot, provide the short text, provide the technology. By default, it is BADI definition. Done. I'll say continue. I'm trying to create the enhancement spot. Creating the enhancement spot, you assume like creating a function group. So I'm creating the enhancement spot. Yeah, I told already, enhancement spot is also a separate object. It is asking you to provide the package name. This enhancement spot also should be transported as a separate object. So since I am not interested in transportation here, I'll save it in local object. Yeah, enhancement spot got created. Let me save this, check for the syntax error, activate the enhancement spot. Understood? My enhancement spot is created. So once enhancement spot is created, we can store any number of what? BADI definition. So we are done with creating the enhancement spot. What is the next step here? Create the custom BADI as part of the above custom enhancement spot. So since my enhancement spot is available in SC18 only, I'll open the existing enhancement spot which I created just now. This is my existing enhancement spot. I'll open it in change mode. Right. As of now, this enhancement spot doesn't have any BADI definition. So under this enhancement spot, you can see on the toolbar here, I'm having a button what create BADI. So I'll try to create the BADI. So already in the last few sessions, we have seen the components of BADI definition. Every BADI definition will have a BADI name, and based upon that BADI definition name, you'll have the BADI interface. Inside that BADI interface, you'll have one or more methods. Then we have to decide whether it is a single use BADI or multiple use BADI. We need to decide whether it is a filter dependent or filter independent BADI. So keeping all these things in mind, let us create the BADI. Okay, so I'll click on the create BADI button. It is asking the name. It is recommending to start with what? Z, right? So let us follow the convention. I'll give the name as something ZCST BADI. You can give any name. I give it as ZCST BADI. I'll give the description. Custom filter independent BADI. So provide some description. I gave it as something custom filter independent BADI. Continue. So I'm trying to create the BADI, nothing but BADI definition name. So when I continue, yeah, this is my BADI definition name, right? So as part of this BADI definition, you can see we have a checkbox what? Multiple use. Okay, so if you want to restrict to single use BADI, I can deselect this checkbox. Single use means it is just like a customer exit. We can have only one active implementation. I want to allow multiple active implementation. So let us select the checkbox multiple use. By default, it is selected. So as part of BADI definition, I selected the checkbox multiple use. We have many checkboxes, many radio buttons. All may not be relevant for our discussion. So whatever is relevant, we'll discuss. So I just selected the checkbox what? Multiple use. Then if you expand this BADI definition, yeah, we have interface and we have implementations. If I double click on interface, yeah, it is asking us to provide the BADI interface name. Every BADI definition is associated with interface name. What is the naming convention of the BADI interface generally? if underscore ex underscore BADI name. So since it is a custom interface, let us start with the Z. I'll say Z if underscore ex underscore. I can give any name. Let us follow the naming convention. What is the BADI name? CST BADI. So I'll provide this particular interface name. Z if underscore ex underscore the BADI name. When I press enter, since the interface is not available, it will prompt you to create that. So when I press enter, it is saying interface does not exist. Do you want to create? Yes. Okay, interface is also a separate object. It is asking for a package. Let us save it in the local object. Save the enhancement spot. It takes the control to class builder. Interface is nothing but what? Collection of what? Abstract methods. Already I told abstract method is a method which is just declared but not implemented. Which is just declared but not implemented. So I'll save it. Right, it has taken the control to class builder SE24. So this is my interface name. Here you have to provide the method name. So in one interface, I can have any number of methods, just like when in the earlier sessions, when you're working with the standard BADI customer underscore add underscore data, what was the interface name? I believe it is if underscore ex underscore the BADI name. In that we have many methods. We have seen some two methods, check all data and a preset values company code. Similarly, under this interface also I can create any number of methods. I'll go for creating only one method. So I'll create the method M1. For this method, if you want any parameters, you can take the parameters. As of now, I'm not taking any parameters. I just declared one method, what? M1. Save your interface, check for the syntax error, activate your BADI interface. BADI interface is activated, go back. So my BADI interface is created with what? One method. Okay, save your enhancement spot, check for the syntax error, activate the enhancement spot. Done. So we are done with the creating the BADI definition. So this is what we have done. The second step, we have created the custom BADI. So this BADI is what? Multiple use BADI. This BADI is what? Multiple use BADI. And this BADI is associated with the interface so and so. This interface contains one method, what? M1. And as of now, this BADI doesn't have any implementations. If I double click on this, it is not showing me any implementations. And this BADI is filter independent. I have not created anything like filter kind of thing. So you have to assume that as what? Filter independent BADI. Activate your enhancement spot. It is activated. So we are done with the BADI definition. Any questions so far? Right. So we are done with the two steps. Now we have to implement the BADI. What is the third step? We already know from 6.0, BADI implementations are stored inside what? Enhancement implementations. So what is the third step? Create custom enhancement implementation, implementing the above enhancement spot. So how do we analyze? Enhancement implementation is responsible for implementing enhancement spot. BADI implementation is responsible for implementing BADI definition. That should be the analysis. Understood? Enhancement implementation is responsible for implementing the enhancement spot. BADI implementation is responsible for implementing the what? BADI definition. So let us create the enhancement implementation. So how do we implement SC19? So I'll go to SC19. Right. So here we have two blocks, edit implementation block and create implementation block. Assume that I'll go to create implementation block. I'll choose the radio button, classic BADI. What do you mean by classic BADI? The BADI which are existing from the older versions. But what are the BADI I created just now? It is a new BADI we have created now. It is called as kernel BADI. And that BADI is not existing independently. It is stored inside what? Enhancement spot. So wantedly what I'll do, I'll choose a radio button classic BADI. This is my BADI name na? ZCST BADI. I'll click on create implementation. It will allow me to create the implementation provided if it is existing independently, but it is not existing independently na? So I'll try to click on create implementation here. What is saying here? BADI definition does not exist. Actually, it is existing, but it is existing inside what? Enhancement spot. So I cannot directly implement the BADI. We need to implement the enhancement spot. So what I'll do is in the create implementation block, I have to choose the radio button what? New BADI. We are trying to implement the new BADI. So for implementing the new BADI, we have to implement the corresponding enhancement spot. So I'll choose the radio button new BADI. What is the enhancement spot where your BADI definition is stored? ZCST enhancement spot. Na? So I'll just provide that enhancement spot. ZCST enhancement spot. I'll click on create implementation. I'm trying to implement the enhancement spot. So when I click on create implementation, it is asking you to provide the enhancement implementation name. I'll give the enhancement implementation name as Z enhancement implementation 1 for the enhancement spot, enhancement spot. I'll give some name, provide the short text. I'll say enhancement implementation 1 for CST enhancement spot, something, provide some description. So what is the name of the enhancement implementation? ZENHIMPL1 underscore so and so. Provide some name, whatever you want. So when I click on continue, so how do we analyze? This enhancement implementation is implementing which enhancement spot? This particular enhancement spot. So implementing the enhancement spot is nothing but implementing the BADI stored inside that particular enhancement spot. I repeat once again, you refer n number of materials, you will not get this sentences. Try to understand. Implementing the enhancement spot is nothing but implementing the baddies stored inside that particular enhancement spot. One enhancement spot can contain any number of baddies. No? In our case, this enhancement spot contains only one baddie definition. So when you are implementing the enhancement spot, it is not compulsory to implement all the baddie definitions of that particular enhancement spot. Assume that my enhancement spot has got 5 baddie definitions. It is not compulsory to implement all the 5 baddie definitions. I can implement any of the baddie definitions depending on our requirement. Anyhow, in this case, this enhancement spot has got only one baddie definition. So this enhancement implementation is trying to implement this particular enhancement spot. Continue. So enhancement implementation is also a separate object. It is asking for the package. Let us save it in what? Local object. Done. So you can see here, in this enhancement implementation is trying to implement that enhancement spot, and that enhancement spot has got some baddie definitions. No? Anyhow, we have only one baddie definition. So if I click on this drop down, it is showing only one baddie definition, ZCST baddie. So I'll choose this particular baddie definition, ZCST baddie. For this baddie definition, we have to provide the implementation name. So I'll give the name as ZCST baddie underscore IMPL1. For this baddie implementation, we have to propose the implementation class. Already in the last session, we understood the naming convention of the implementation class. CL underscore IM underscore implementation name. So I'll give the name as ZCL underscore IM underscore CST baddie underscore IMPL1. Propose some implementation class name. I'm following the naming convention. I'm proposing that. Continue. It is asking to save the implementation class. Let us save it in the local object. So the BADI implementation gets created. So if I expand this BADI implementation, this BADI implementation is associated with the implementation class so and so. This implementation class is responsible for implementing the BADI interface. Implementing the BADI interface is nothing but implementing one or more methods of that particular BADI interface. So I'll double click on the method M1 and I'll implement. Double click on this. Anyhow, we have only one method. So I'll double click on that method and I'll try to implement. You can provide any implementation according to your requirement. I'll just give some dummy messages here. First implementation for method what? Or I'll just say method M1 first implementation. Type what information message. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Done. Activate your implementation. Go back. Better we activate the implementation class. I'll double click on the implementation class. Activate the implementation class. Yes, it is activated. I'll go back. Activate your enhancement implementation. Yes, it is activated. So what you have done? We have provided what? One BADI implementations. Any questions so far? Okay, so our BADI is what? Multiple use BADI. Na? What are the BADI I created is a multiple use BADI. Multiple use BADI means I can have any number of BADI implementation. So I want to provide second implementation now, and that second BADI implementation also I want to create inside the same existing enhancement implementation. I repeat, I want to create the second BADI implementation within the same existing enhancement implementation. So keeping that in mind, I'll go to SC19. What is my agenda? The second BADI implementation also I want to store within the same enhancement implementation. So since it is an existing enhancement implementation, in the edit implementation block, I'll choose the radio button new BADI. What is the enhancement implementation name? ZENH IMPL1 underscore what? CST enhancement spot. I'll open the existing enhancement implementation. I'll click on change. Yes, this is the enhancement implementation which contains one BADI implementation. Within the same enhancement implementation, I'll provide one more BADI implementation. Same process. There is a create button here, create BADI implementation. I'll click on that. I suggest don't try to remember the navigations or listen to the recording. Spend time on the system. Practice it 10 times, you'll understand. If you try to remember whether to click on create button, change button, whether I need to go back and come back, don't remember those kind of things. Okay, agenda is what? I want to create second BADI implementation within the existing enhancement implementation. That is the reason in SC19 in the edit implementation block I provided the existing enhancement implementation. I opened it in what? Change mode. Within that enhancement implementation, let us try to provide one more BADI implementation. So I'll click on create BADI implementation. It is asking in this enhancement spot, this enhancement implementation is implementing this enhancement spot. Now, this enhancement spot has got only one BADI definition. So if you browse this, it will open me that existing BADI definition. For this BADI definition, you propose a BADI implementation name. So I'll give it as something ZCST BADI underscore IMPL2. I'll provide the description, implementation classes ZCL underscore IM underscore CST BADI underscore IMPL2. Provide the description. I'll give the description as something second BADI implementation, some description. Continue. Class, the implementation class does not exist. Do you want to create? Yes. I'll save it in the local object. The second BADI implementation got created. If I expand the second BADI implementation, I'll double click on the implementing class. We have to implement the method now. I'll double click on the method. It takes a control to the class builder. Provide the implementation. So I'll say something method M1, something second implementation. Type out information message. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Done. It is activated. Go back. Better we activate the implementation class. I'll double click on the implementation class. I'll activate. Come back. Activate this. Activate your enhancement implementation. So our BADI, our custom BADI contains what? Two BADI implementations spread across one enhancement implementation. Within the same enhancement implementation, I'm having what? Two BADI implementations. Done. I want to provide one more implementation. You decide whether you want this third implementation within the existing enhancement implementation or new enhancement implementation. If you want to store it within the same enhancement implementation, how do you go about this? In SC19, if you want within the same enhancement implementation, in the edit implementation block, you'll provide the existing enhancement implementation. You'll open it in what? Change mode. I want to store the third implementation inside a new enhancement implementation. So I'll choose a radio, I'll go for what? Create implementation block. I'll choose a radio button new BADI. So here there is no advantage or disadvantages for storing the BADI implementations across different enhancement implementations. Understood? Whatever the logically related implementations are there, I'll put it in what? One enhancement implementation. Other logically related implementations, I'll put it in what? Another enhancement implementation. So it is developer choice. No one will tell us to go for a new enhancement implementation or go for existing enhancement implementation. But at the end, you ensure that all the enhancement implementations are transported, because each enhancement implementation is a separate object. At the end, we have to ensure that all are transported. So I'll go for new enhancement implementation. For that reason, in the create implementation block, I'll provide the enhancement spot which I want to implement. Create implementation. Let me provide the enhancement implementation name as ZENHIMPL2 underscore enhancement spot. Provide the description. Second enhancement implementation. Some description. Continue. The enhancement implementation gets created. It is asking in that BADI, inside that enhancement spot, which BADI you want to implement. I'll choose what? CST BADI. For this, let us provide the implementation name. I'll provide the implementation name as ZCST BADI underscore IMPL3. I'll provide the implementation class as ZCL underscore IM underscore CST BADI underscore IMPL3. Propose a implementation class on top of the BADI implementation name. You give whatever name you want, but I'm following the naming conventions. Continue. Save your implementation class. The rest of the steps are same. Okay, I'll expand the BADI implementation. Navigate to the implementation class. Double click on the appropriate interface method and implement. Method M1. Third implementation, type what? I. Save it, check for the syntax, activate everything. Better we activate the implementation class. See why I'm activating each and every object separately is this tool is not properly provided by SAP. If you don't activate the individual objects, we'll get some issues. That's why even if it is a time consuming, activate each and every object separately. The reason is this tool is not yet properly provided by SAP. There are many bugs. So to avoid that bugs, activate the objects independently. Done. So the third BADI implementation also is done. Let me provide one more BADI implementation. This fourth BADI implementation, let us store it in the second enhancement implementation. So I'll go to SC19, right? So what is the second enhancement implementation? In the edit implementation block, I'll provide that Z enhancement implementation 2 underscore enhancement spot. Provide the existing enhancement implementation change. It has got one BADI implementation, that is the third one, right? I'll click same navigation. Just click on what? Create BADI implementation. Which BADI you want to implement? ZCST BADI. on top of that BADI, provide the implementation name. I'll give it as ZCST BADI underscore IMPL4. Propose the implementation class. I'll say IMPL4. I'll provide some description. Fourth BADI implementation. Class does not exist. Create the class. I'll save it in the local object. Right? I'll navigate to the implementation class. Implement the method. Provide the implementation. Activate your implementation. Double click on the implementation class. Activate everything. Right. So our BADI definition is a multiple use BADI, and that BADI has got what? 4 implementations. It has got 4 implementations spread across what? 2 enhancement implementations. If you go to SC18, right? So this is an enhancement spot which contains one BADI definition, right? And this BADI definition, if I double click on implementations, we can see here it is showing you what? 4 BADI implementations, IMPL 1 to 4. These 4 BADI implementations are spread across what? 2 enhancement implementations, and all are what? Active. All are active. Yeah, any questions up to this point? No questions? Okay. So we are done with what? Definition. We are done with what? Implementation. Right? So up to what? Fourth step we have done. As part of that custom enhancement implementations, we have created the custom BADI implementation. What is the final step? We need to trigger the custom BADI. So if you take standard BADI, the triggering of the standard BADI is taken care by what? SAP itself. Where this BADIs gets triggered at the transaction level, we have seen the transaction XD01. When the user is performing some activities at different places, different what? The same BADI is triggered, but at different places, different interface methods are getting called. We have seen check all data method. It is getting called when I click on what? Save button. And the company preset values company code what? Method is getting called when I click on the company code button on the application toolbar. Okay, so there is no restriction. In one enhancement spot, we can store any number of BADI definitions. In one enhancement implementations, we can store any number of BADI implementations. No restriction. Right. So what is the final step here? We need to trigger the custom BADI. Right. So let me create this custom BADI as part of what? Executable program. So I'll write an executable program, that is SC38. I'll go to SC38. I'll give the name of the program as Z trigger underscore CST BADI. Z trigger underscore CST BADI. Create trigger custom BADI. Right. Type of program is what? Executable program. I'll save it. right? So here we need to write some logic to trigger the custom BADI. So there are some steps you have to follow for that. We need to declare the reference for your BADI definition. So how do you create the reference? You'll say data, some reference name. I'll give it as OB. For creating the reference, we have to use operator type ref2. Type ref2. What is the BADI name? ZCST BADI. So I declare the reference. I declare the reference. So this is called as what? BADI reference. At this stage, it is only called as reference. We have to convert that reference to object. So those who know object oriented, to create the object, we use the statement create object. But here, the statement you have to use is get BADI followed by OB. Get BADI OB. So this is called as what? This statement, what it will do, creates what? BADI class object. Understood? At this stage, this OB is called as only a reference, and you have to convert the reference to object. So generally, to convert the reference to object, we use the statement create object. But in case of baddies, we have to use a statement what? Get baddie, which will create the baddie class object. Then we have to call the method. Just like how do you call the subroutine? Perform. How do you call a function model? Call function. How do you call a method? We say call method. But in case of baddies, we have to use a statement call baddie. Call baddie. Call baddie. What is the method you want to call? M1. So I'll say call method OB of what? M1. Done. Save it. Check for the syntax error. That's it. Am I clear? So I'm calling the baddie OB of M1. So when I execute this is nothing but triggering the baddie. So when I execute this baddie gets triggered as part of the triggering. Which method I'm calling? M1 method. Anyhow, we have only one method. This M1 has got how many active implementations? 4 active implementations. So when I execute, I got the first implementation. We cannot control the sequence of the BADI implementations. It will be triggered by SAP in whatever sequence we have implemented. So first I'll get what? First implementation. I got the second implementation, third implementation, and what? Fourth implementation. Understood? So this is nothing but triggering the custom BADI. So whenever the BADI is triggered, it has called all the 4 active implementations one after the other. In which sequence it will call? In whichever sequence we have implemented. Okay, first implementation, second implementation, third implementation, fourth implementation. I want to deactivate the third implementation. So how do I do it? I know that the third implementation is stored inside the second enhancement implementation, or else if you go to SC18, this is my enhancement spot. If I display, right, this BADI definition has got how many implementations? 4 implementations. I want to deactivate the third one. So I'll double click on this. It takes the control to the that particular implementation. I'll try to open this in what? Change mode. This third BADI implementation, I'll deselect the checkbox. Implementation is active. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Done. It is activated. Right? So I'll go back. So what is the meaning here? Our BADI has got what? Our BADI has got 4 BADI implementations. Out of 4 BADI implementations, 3 are active, 1 is inactive. So if I display and cross check here, yeah, you can see here, it has got 3 BADI, but third one you can see it is deactive. Implementation is not called. Even though the implementation is available, I have deactivated that. How do I deactivate? Just you have to select the checkbox. Implementation is active at the BADI what implementation level, you have to select or deselect that particular checkbox. So when I execute this, the BADI gets triggered. It will call all the active implementations one after the other. I got the first implementation, second implementation, and what? Fourth implementation, right? So can I plug this? What is that I gave here? We can trigger the custom BADI as part of executable program. I can plug this to what? Standard customer exit, or I can plug it to what? Standard BADIs in the standard transaction. As of now, how I am triggering it? I am triggering it from an executable program. Can I plug it to a transaction? Yes, if you want, you can plug it to a transaction. You have to decide in the transaction at which stage that BADI has to be triggered. Okay, so I'll do one thing. Earlier we implemented that standard BADI customer at data. Na? So I'll just open that. I'll go to SC what 18. Yeah, what is the enhancement spot there? Customer at data. This enhancement spot has got this BADI definition. This BADI definition has got how many implementations? It has got it has got 4 BADI implementations. I believe I have deactivated the second BADI implementation. Okay, so I'll deactivate the other also. Others also I'll deactivate. So what I'll do is I'll just go to this, observe this carefully. I'll open this in change mode. I'm unable to open from here. So let me open it from SC19. I'll open it from SC19. So I'll go to SC19. What is the enhancement implementation? ZENHIMPL1. I'll open it in change mode. Right. So here, yeah, this is my BADI. I'm unable to deactivate this. I'll open the class in editable mode. I'll come back. Okay, or else I'll directly open the BADI implementation since it is migrated. So I'll just directly open the BADI implementation. What is that? Z BADI IMPL1. I'll open it in change mode. Yeah, it is opened in change mode. I'll try to deactivate this. Here I'll try to deactivate. Done. It is inactive now. BADI implement has been deactivated. Done. I'll just save it, go back. Then similarly, I'll open the second one, IMPL2. I'll open it in change mode. This also I'll deactivate. Has already been deactivated. Done. Save it. Let's should. Since this is a classic BADI, since it got migrated, we have to open that implementations independently. IMPL3 change. Yeah, I'll deactivate this also. Done. Has been deactivated. Let me save it and go back. I'll open the fourth BADI implementation, IMPL4, change it. Does not exist. Huh? Acha. Might be it is there in, not there. Huh? Let me go back and check SE18 display. Implementations. Yes, Z BADI IMPL1, IMPL2, IMPL3 all are what? Deactivated. This is Z BADI IMPL4, Z BADI IMPL4. It is there inside what? Third enhancement implementation. So I'll try to deactivate this also. Z BADI IMPL4. So I'll go to SC19. Z BADI IMPL4 does not exist. Huh? Why? Let me open the enhancement implementation, IMPL3, change. Yeah, okay. I'll go to enhancement implementation here. Right, it is there. Yeah, I'll deactivate this. Deactivate, done. Save it, done. So all the implementations are made what? Deactivated. So if you go back and cross check in SC18, this is the enhancement spot. This has got one BADI definition. If you see the implementations, all my implementations are what? Oh, IMPL4, it's still showing it as what? Called. Why? I deactivated. Na? I'll go to SC19, ZNHIMPL3 change. These are all the bugs in the tool. Okay, so I'll say adjust and then is not automatically adjustable. I'll go to this. It is okay. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Activate. Object is activated. If I go back, yeah, it is showing it is active, but this checkbox is deselected. Let me go back and check. These are all the problems with the tool only. That's the reason you have to activate each and everything. So I'll go to SC18 display implementations. Good. You can see IMPL1, IMPL2, 3, IMPL4 all are what? Inactive. Right. So what I'll do now, observe this carefully. What I'll do is yeah, I'll go for what? Plugging this particular custom BADI in the standard transaction. So I'll open this enhancement implementation 3. Inside this, I'll plug it. So how do I do it? Observe. So I'll go to SC19, enhancement implementation 3. I'll open it in change mode. Observe this carefully. Yeah, here, let me provide one more BADI implementation. Click on create BADI implementation. Which BADI you want to implement here? Customer underscore add underscore data. I'll provide the implementation name as ZBADI IMPL5. I'll provide the implementation class name ZCL underscore IM underscore BADI implementation 5. I'll provide the short text fifth implementation. Continue. Yeah, class does not exist. Create the class. Yes. Local objects. I'm trying to plug the custom BADI with the standard BADI. So how do I do it? It's very simple. You decide in which method you want to plug. I want to plug in check all data. I already know at what stage this method is called when I click on the save button. So inside this check all data, I'll double click on check all data. Yeah, it has opened that. So here I'll write the logic. What I'll write here? Logic to trigger what? Custom BADI. So here I'll write that similar logic. Data K type ref to what is our custom BADI definition? ZCST BADI. Then I'll say get BADI what? K. Then I'll say call BADI K of what is the method there? M1. Done. Save it. Check for the syntax. So earlier I wrote this logic inside the executable program. So I need to run that program. I need to run that program. What? To trigger that BADI. Now I'm plugging that logic to what? Custom BADI. Okay. So let me save it. Check for the syntax. Activate this. Done. It is activated. Activate the errors. Yes. So you may have the problem since I have not implemented the other methods. Let's see whether it'll adjust or not. Yeah, done. Activate this. Yeah, it is activated. Now let me go back. If I open that in a C18, it has got 5 implementations. Out of 5, only the 5th one is active. Yeah, you can see it has got 5, but only the 5th one is active. In this 5th one, what is the logic I wrote? I wrote the logic to trigger my custom BADI. Let's see whether it works or not. So I'll run the T code XG01, right? I'll choose something R3 to CRM, go inside, done. I'll click on what? Save button. So whenever I click on the save, I'm in the standard transaction now. Whenever I click on this save button in the XD01 transaction, internally triggers a standard BADI. What is that standard BADI? Customer add data. In that standard BADI, which method SAP will call check all data? That check all data has got how many implementations? 5 implementations. Out of 5, only the 5th implementation is active. So that implementation gets executed. What is the logic we wrote in that 5th implementation? We have written the logic to trigger the custom BADI. For our custom BADI, how many implementations are there? 4 implementations. Out of 4, I think 3 are active. So see what happens. I'll click on the save button. Industry is mandatory for Indian customers. Acha. Okay, let me provide this. Right, I'll save it. Yeah, you can see now method M1 first implementation, method M1 set. What is happening here? It is triggering our custom BADI. Method M1 fourth implementation. Done. That's it. It got created. So what I want to convey is what are the custom BADI we have created. That custom BADI we can attach it to what? Any of the standard transactions. I have attached it to which transaction here? XD01. Understood? In XD01, we identified one suitable BADI. In one of that BADI method, I wrote the logic to trigger my custom BADI. Like that, we can attach this custom BADI to any number of transactions. In the transaction, I can attach it to a standard BADI or I can attach it to a customer exit. Earlier, we have seen the function exit, include. If you double click on the include program, it will open the include program. In that, you write the logic to trigger our custom BADI. So all the implementation gets executed one after the other. Okay, so this is how you create the custom BADI. You implement the custom BADI and we'll attach it to what? Standard transactions. Any questions, please ask. What we understood today is how to work with the custom BADI. We just gave some messages, that's it. But you can write any logic inside that. I can declare internal tables. I can write select query. I can check the validations. Whatever you want, you can write in that. And this BADI is what? Filter independent. And what is happening here whenever the BADI is triggered? All the active implementations are getting executed what? One after the other. Tomorrow we'll take one more example on custom BADI. We'll create it as filter dependent, and we'll see how to control the execution of the active BADI implementation. So far what we know, all the active BADI implementations will be triggered one after another. Tomorrow what we'll do, even if the implementation is active, SAP should decide whether to execute that active implementation or not. So that can be done based on the filter values. So that part we'll discuss tomorrow. Any questions for today, please ask. Okay, so materials and recordings already I've shared. So only today's session recording and material is pending. Material may take some time because I need to prepare it. So first I'll share the recording by afternoon. Try to refer to the recording and then practice. Right? So any questions? Otherwise I'll log off. Chalo then. So thank you everyone. We'll continue tomorrow.